is you have to know what's going on, and you can only kind of take your power back from that, and then you can get through that trauma and you can start working on it. It's a long process, but it's so important. So thank you again.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Your comments are very valid.
Angela, are you a care provider or work for an agency or what?
I don't do anything here yet. I'm still kind of...
But she will be.
But you now live here? Once I would encourage you to sign up on our sign-up sheet.
I now live in Leland. I want to be. I really miss it.
Thank you for the excellent presentation.
My pleasure.
I'm glad I came.
Good. Good.
Anyway, I want to refer to the video, if I may, about the well. You know, it's drain the well or get rid of the well and we'll create a lot of, won't have these problems. I think the society is some of the problem. You know, I look back 50 years ago or so, because I'm old, and I look at, I'll give you an example. I thought of a television program, Leave It to Beaver, an ideal family, you know, type of thing, and morality and all this type of thing. As we move forward in a very liberal society, an increasingly liberal society, if it feels good, do it. You know, the promotion of, marijuana, you know, passing these laws and all this type of thing, and I'm glad Mr. Hubble is here. He spoke very well on this subject. You know, Traverse City is one of the biggest drug areas of northern Michigan. And I think we as a society, we as a people here, have to take a hard line. I can't address all these, each individual problem, but we can take one or two at a time and attack that. And I think drug abuse has grown substantially. And it doesn't start with the child, it starts with the parent. And just having this attitude, well, let's have it, let's do this because it feels good, is wrong. Now, there's other ways to address that. You're trying to give medicine to the kids, so to speak, on the, like the video. But where the problem lies is at the well, and that lies with us. Thank you.
I do agree.
Thank you, Gary. If you come to the front and then go, or either way, Jane. Okay. There's two hands up on this side and then two on this side.
Hi, my name is Ava, and I'm the school counselor at Suttons Bay Elementary School. And watching that video and then hearing you speak, so many students come to mind at our school. And so I'm just curious, I'd love to have a conversation and connect with people in this county about what is already in place and what can be put in place to support these students from a community approach. You know, we try really hard and we have a lot of things going on to support these students and the trauma that they've been through in the school, but kids under the age of 10 are not really receiving much support from the community and from the outside. And if they are, then I would love to know about it and speak with people about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, who can...
Jane, is that something you want to? Sure. Jane's on the Early Childhood Committee, and if you want to talk about some of the services or helps.
We do have lots of family support services.
Sorry.
Parenting Communities is one program where we support families, any family, from birth to or pregnancy up to age 5. And we do that by developing relationships with the families to support them and help fulfill their needs, whatever they may be, in addition to working on child development and parenting skills. And Stephanie is here. Would you like to talk? And I know that Kim had just left. She's early Head Start. And I think I see, do I see B?
Yeah, Patricia's here too.
You would be a part of that as well.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Burns from the Benzie-Leon District Health Department, and I am a home visiting nurse with the Maternal Infant Health Program. And so you're talking about the front lines, and we are on the front lines. It's a referral process, the Maternal Infant Health Program. Anyone who has Medicaid is eligible. We try to start in the very beginning of pregnancy, and we try to visit every month. We have an interdisciplinary team of a social worker, a nurse, and a dietitian. And we also have lactation support 24/7. And we try to get in and recognize the risks that these people have. I like to call them focus issues instead of risks, because that's kind of a dirty word for these families. And then once the baby's born, we do in-home home visiting at least once a month. We also provide WIC services from the home, so that's like a huge pull for moms to want to sign up. It's really great because usually these people have more than one child, and we can refer those children also to other programs such as Early On, Early Head Start. And if we just try to really help these people be better parents, and I think a lot of these parents are really trying to do their best. It's a voluntary program, so it's not court mandated or anything. They want us there, they want the help. It's just really hard to break those cycles sometimes, and that's what we're really trying to do, working with the family. And so if you know anyone, not everyone knows about the maternal infant health program, but it's available, and we get a lot of our referrals through WIC, but we can also take anyone that has Medicaid, any moms, and obviously the babies are eligible also. And it's great. I just started in May, so I've been there for 6 months, and it's very rewarding. It's very heartbreaking sometimes, but it's definitely a huge issue. Definitely. And it's in our community. Yeah, I kind of ran from one home visit, and now I'm running off to another one, and I did not bring my cards. But you can email me at sburns@bldhd.org, or call the health department. They can send you through to my office.
So we're hearing parenting communities, the health departments,
Yep.
Early Head Start. I mean, Joe on this side, since and then we'll go back to BJ. That's okay.
Yes, Joe Huffle here. I have to agree with Gary, not that we don't agree all the time, but I think he's right. I think the well is really the problem. I was fortunate I had a very clean well to drink from. My father did not. My father's father was an alcoholic who divorced his mother, my father's mother, when he was very young. My father moved out of his house when he was 14. But one thing that really helped him was the fact that he had some people in his life, some aunts and uncles on both sides of the family. He had a family friend, his name was Mr. Haney, Francis Haney, who he lived with, who was very influential in his life and allowed him to be successful. He went to U of M when he was 16, he graduated undergrad 18, he went off to war, he came back, he graduated from law school when he was 21, went back to war. So again, I was really lucky, and I'm not bragging about it, I just want to give you a perspective of how I look at cases when they come to me. First of all, I have that perspective of being very lucky. I also have a perspective of knowing how young people aren't so lucky. And I think what Gary said is right, the well. When I was growing up, Boy Scouts stopped being cool to join. Churches now have been marginalized to a great degree, and it's really sad. And so what's happened is that these natural areas that gave young people support have been diminished for whatever reason. Secondly, my comment with Judge Nelson's comment is we are very careful in cases of when we're going to intervene and terminate a parent's rights. I'm not going to terminate a parent's rights who has a dirty house, who may have a substance abuse problem, because whatever the problems in that child's life, that is still their parent. It's important for us to recognize that. Also, the ramifications of due process, lengthy trials and appeals. They become, when necessary, we will remove a child and we will terminate the rights. But I think we've had a few success stories. One comes to mind where a lady was able to regain custody of her children. There were grandparents involved that became involved that took part as surrogate parents while she was getting her act together, so to speak, to get away from an abusive partner. And what I found in that case was very gratifying, because it started out, she very much distrusted the system. She didn't trust me, she didn't trust the courts, she didn't trust anybody. And so that's a big wall that we have to break down. And once we're able to do it, and a lot of it is like substance abuse, once people, when the light bulb finally comes on, they get it. But a lot of times you gotta break down that wall, and you gotta be cognizant of what you're dealing with. Lastly is a question. Now these ACE scores, let's say I have a ACE score of 4, fortunately I don't. Is that alone gonna cause me to have health issues, or does that become a precursor to bad health behavior or risky behavior?
The answer is it does not necessarily mean you're going to have health issues, but it markedly increases the risk that you're going to. And it actually is both. That higher ACE score predisposes you to risky behaviors because of changes that are occurring within the brain itself. And that higher ACE score predisposes you to an increased risk for heart disease, for lung cancer, and actually even for depression, based on what those ACEs are doing to the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the adrenal glands. So nothing in medicine is pure, and I have no doubt there are people with ACE scores of 10 who never had an adult intervene in their life and they're okay. It's like the person who smoked for 80 years and says to me, I'm still alive. Well, you are, but your chances weren't very good. And so the issue is, on an individual basis, can a child with 4 ACEs survive and go to college? The answer is yes. But their chances for doing that successfully are a lot less. And fixing it, in my opinion, is not that difficult. My nephew literally was going to kill himself when he was 14. He had 4 ACEs. My brother, his father, the emotionally abusive man, his brother and I grew up in the same house with very smart, nice parents, and my brother and I, neither one of us had an ACE. We both were 0s. But unfortunately, my nephew grew up in a house with a mother who was a hoarder, a father who was emotionally abusive, very disabled siblings, so that my nephew was neglected, and a divorce. And at 14, my nephew was going to leave this world. Now, the good thing is, my mother and I had recognized there was a problem, and as much as we could, we made ourselves available to my nephew. My mother spent as much time with him as she could. I used to drive up from Detroit every single weekend and have him come to my house so he could stay with me and do homework and be in a normal environment. And the one good thing is when he was ready to leave this world, guess where he went? His grandma's house. He rode his boat 20 miles. He was going to Grand Traverse Academy. And he rode his bike from Grand Traverse Academy to Interlaken in March. And that's why he is alive. So my point would be, get involved, or at least be there. I mean, my point really is, a lot of times what you need is just get yourself in front of that child's face as something that's safe and be there. Most kids, if they know they've got something, can start to develop that resilience they need and make it. But they've got to have an adult. And I agree, you can't remove children. I actually, believe me, I called Child Protective Services regarding my nephew's situation. He lived in a home that wasn't just dirty. It was a house that was the house of a hoarder. And there were animals with skin lesions leaking all over the carpeting in that house. And I called Child Protective Services. I didn't care if my brother hated my guts, fine by me. And unfortunately, it wasn't bad enough to have the children removed. And when he was being emotionally abused, I called lawyers, I called child protector, I called everyone I could think of. And sadly, because our system is the way it is, nothing could happen. He wasn't, to be honest, he wasn't being physically abused. He hadn't been hit hard enough or shown a broken bone or whatever it was going to take to have something done. So the only thing we could do was try to be there and be that surrogate parent. And I think that's what I'm trying to say here is most of you have that ability as a grandparent or a neighbor to be there for a child. And again, I am very opinionated, but I absolutely think we have a responsibility to do that. And quite honestly, people worry, well, if I interfere with my grandson's life, my daughter's going to be mad at me, and blah, 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 blah. And my response is, for God's sake, that child might die.
That's right.
Really? I mean, really? Interfere. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but be involved in these children's lives.
I think we have at least 2 more, 3, 4, and then okay. Okay, let's go BJ and then Kathy. Okay.
Okay, one thing that I really want to bring out is one of the adverse experiences. And that is, most of you probably have heard somewhere in the last few years that 1 in 3 women can expect to be sexually abused during their lifetime. I'm here to tell you that there are probably a lot more than that because people don't report it. I was 5 when I was sexually abused, and it still hurts to this day.
Thank you. Tricia.
Hi. I've had the opportunity to see Dr. Felitti speak a number of times, and I was part of a group that actually brought him to the State Capitol building to address lawmakers in regard to the ACE study. And one of the things that isn't mentioned in the Nadine Burke's talk and that you didn't mention is the thing that he noticed in his practice was that the simple act of asking someone, just the ask, transformed lives. It reduced emergency room visits by half. So it cut healthcare costs like, and then if you didn't ask, even at Kaiser Permanente, with the best health intervention in maybe the country, right? Like primo healthcare coverage for obesity and all these other different problems that people were there working on. They didn't have success until they started asking people, what happened to you? And having a patient say to you, I was afraid that I would die and no one would ever know what had happened to me. And the power of having someone ask you, and we all have that power, whether we're a neighbor, a parent, a friend. We heard about some programs here today. They're wonderful programs, but unfortunately, they're limited in who they can serve. You know, our MAH PRE program is, you have to qualify for Medicaid. Our Parenting Communities program is woefully underfunded and lacks the adequate number of home visitors and family advocates to serve our county. Even though it's an outstanding program, there's not enough to serve everybody who needs it. But you can be the relationship in a person's life that is the thing that transforms their life. You can be there, help them find a community. You know, like Jerry was talking about Boy Scouts, or we talked about faith-based. Those are the 2 #1 things that promote resiliency. Having someone, and it doesn't have to be the same person. It can be one person and then you've got another person and then you've got another person, but you have to have a person you can identify in your life that was a dependable, safe adult or person for you in your life. And the second thing is being able to feel that you're a part of a community. So we all can do that, regardless of whether we're a healthcare worker or a teacher or a grandparent, just by being aware of the power that a relationship can have to transform somebody's life.
Caring community. We're going to go to folks who haven't spoken yet, and I know Kathy said earlier she had to leave before the end, so I'm going to go to Kathy and then we have time.
Thank you. I'm just going to get over here so I can see everyone. Thank you so much for this presentation. This has been awesome. I just wanted to introduce myself and jump in here. My name is Kathleen Wainwright, and I'm new to the area. I'm from Michigan originally, but I moved, and now I'm back in town. And I'm what's called a somatic experiencing practitioner. Maybe you've heard about that based on the work of Peter Levine, who is really cutting edge in the area of trauma and trauma-informed therapy. And it is one of the most effective ways of dealing with trauma and of connecting the body and the functionality in the brain and the behaviors that people have as a result of the ACE studies that you spoke of. I've been an occupational therapist for many years and saw the effects of pain and dysfunction and knew, like the woman in the TED Talk, that there was something else going on. So in addition to being a Feldenkrais practitioner and teaching people how to move easier and have less pain, I did this 3 to 3.5 year program on how to work with people who have the experience of trauma. And I'm new to the area. I have been wondering how to hook up with people and connect and contribute in this community, and I'm so glad I'm here today. I'm working over at the Suttons Bay Medical Clinic with Dr. Seamer, and I'm offering free complimentary, just come in and see what I do sessions. So please, I welcome everyone to just stop by, free initial, like just discussion, consult, questions about what this work could provide. I'll just leave my contact information at the desk there, and I did sign up on the email. So thank you, I love this work, and thank you for being here today so much and for what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your service. Thank you. I do have a question. It seems like everyone in this country now knows what PTSD is. They've had a fabulous program to make us more aware for people to come forward. Is there a parallel effort with the ACE?
I don't know that there is I don't know that there's a unified effort. I did not come across anything in reading many research articles and journal articles in the last month or two. There are spots where this is occurring. Dr. Burr in California has the Center for Youth Wellness, where they are trying to advocate and get out to the public the information that is needed. And they actually, in all frankness, it would probably behoove the committee that's sponsoring this. They have a website that actually talks about how your community can start to raise awareness, start to advocate, start to try to get the ball rolling, to have this being, it's far more prevalent than PTSD. It's far more prevalent. So, needs to be addressed. Yes, sir.
It hasn't really been talked a lot about today, and I don't know how much information you know about this, but we haven't talked about the criminal aspect of this. And you may have some knowledge and percentages. If the higher your ACE score, what are your chances to end up in prison? And then this might be another topic for discussion. Our prison system is, we all agree, in need of a major change, going from punitive to educational, and these younger children ending up in a prison or criminal system, and what impact that's having financially and on them.
Yeah, in all honesty, I don't have an answer as to percentages of children with high ACE scores who are ending up in prison. Logic would obviously say, since there's a higher incidence of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, violent behavior, etc., I'm sure it's a higher proportion going to prison than of those children who don't have an ACE. But I don't know the numbers. I don't know, does anyone here know?
Our January forum, the first Wednesday in January, is rehabilitative alternatives to jail. So maybe we can do a little research and provide that data. Maybe one more comment. It is 1:30 now. Gary, for no one else, first timer? Okay, Gary.
Okay, last comment. I think a lot of us are on the same page. I'm going to challenge the League of Women Voters, the organizations, wide-ranging, to put out those sources, to reach out for the all of us individuals to reach out when we hear about things, or to reach out. If you think by just going and having the government come up with another program is going to solve it, I think you're wrong.
I think the community and individuals
I think it's up to the community.
Totally agree.
It's where it started.
Totally agree.
Thank you.
Totally agree.
Multifaceted problem and multifaceted solutions. This presentation will be on Up North Media, and all of our videos are there online, and supplemental resources are always on the League of Women Voters, lwvleelanau.org. Truly want to thank Dr. Hardwick for this presentation, Dr. Burns, who's not here in person, but thank you all for attending. We have evaluations, the yellow sheet, so please give us some feedback as to how we can improve, what you liked, what you thought was good, changes. The sign-up sheet has been passed around. Next month's meeting is not really a meeting, it's our holiday lunch for members and invited guests, and it's noon on December 14th. And then, as I said, on January 4th, we'll have a forum entitled Rehabilitative Alternatives to Jail. We'll now end this part of our meeting here today, take about a 5 to 8 minute break. and then league members or observers, if they wish to stay and observe, will have our business meeting. Once again, thank you very much.